viewers, I'm the Extraordinary Tourist and welcome to my animation breakdown. In this particular video I'm going to be showing you how I created my cow's tail animation called You Can Call Me Owl, which I created with first CrazyTalk 8. I did a version in that, and then I did a version using CrazyTalk Animator 3. And this particular video will be focusing on the CrazyTalk Animator 3 version because I've already done a previous video on the CrazyTalk 8 version where I showed you in detail exactly how that particular animation was made. I'm not going to be able to show you exactly step by step how the CrazyTalk Animator 3 version was made because it's fairly long and involved process, but this is going to give you a general overview and sort of give you some idea of how it was constructed and put together. So let's get on with that. So just in case this is your first video on my channel and you're not aware of this particular animation or this series, what I set to do was create an animated version of this artwork that I created in 2003. It's actually an acrylic painting about I think it was about 50 centimeters by 40 centimeters in size, and I never actually created this with the intention of turning it into an animation. It was just a painting of one of my characters, but I decided it wasn't the ideal painting to turn into a talking head style animation using CrazyTalk 8, and then I thought it'd be interesting to contrast a CrazyTalk 8 animation with one created in CrazyTalk Animator 3, which in comparison to CrazyTalk 8, which is just for animating heads, CrazyTalk Animator 3 could animate the whole body and do a few other things as well that you can't do in CrazyTalk 8. So this is the artwork that I started out with and set out to turn into an animation. So these are the two animations side by side. The one on the left here is the CrazyTalk 8 version, and I've got sound muted on these. If you want to actually see these complete with sound and everything, they're on my channel, and I'll put the links in the description below. That you can see here, if I play this one, this is entirely just the head moving and the background is static. None of the cow is animated at all, none of the background or anything like that. It's entirely just the head, which is what CrazyTalk 8 specializes in, creating this kind of talking head animation. So we go over here on the right, which is the CrazyTalk Animator 3 version, and if I hit play on that, you'll see here we've got a bit of camera movement, a little bit of parallax scrolling with the background. The whole body of the cow is moving, the tail's swinging around. I can make it walk, and I can have the tail sort of swinging around as it's talking. But the basic head animation uses the same technique of this morph-based head, which is creating a sort of semi-relief 3D version of the character's head and putting eyes and the interior of a mouth into it, and then sort of animating that with a sort of, I guess, semi-3D type head. So the first part of creating this animation was preparing all the graphics, and here I am in, this is Clip Studio Paint, EX. Here you can see the original artwork, and if I turn that off, underneath it you can see my artwork with all the layers separated. So the first part for my CrazyTalk 3 animation was getting the cow separated from the background. So you can see here, if I turn cow's head and body off, this is the background on its own, and obviously I digitally painted in the parts of the background that weren't there in the original painting. And with the background I further separated it into sky and ground. So if I turn the field off there, that's my sky, and I saved that out as a PNG file. And then if I turn the sky off, I saved this out as a transparent PNG file. It's a little bit different with the cow. You can see I've separated the body there and put in a neck where the head used to be, and you can see the tail is separated from the cow's body as well, and the head is just one image as well, although you can see in the layers here that it is all separated sort of into smaller separate images, particularly the eyes. So if I turn off the face there, I actually use the original eyes in my CrazyTalk Animator 3 versions, so they had to be separated out and saved as PNG files. But the head was exported with the whole character with the eyes in it, and we'll get to the next stage that I had to go through, which was create the cow as a Photoshop character template. So if I shut this one, or switch over to the template I should say, this is my Photoshop template, and all these dots you can see here represent where the bones of the character will be once I import this into CrazyTalk Animator 3. And so this particular template is for the quadruped, let's say that again, is for the quadrupeds G3 characters in CrazyTalk Animator 3, and obviously this template would usually be for characters that have legs, and as you can see my cow actually doesn't have legs, and I didn't create legs for it. So what I did, if you look at this, all these dots here map out the bones for the legs, and I just bunch them up all together at the very bottom of the body, so that the top part of the leg would move as you would expect, but because you can't see all this, they just don't really affect the actual template at all when you apply a quadruped motion file to this template. So once you have all this set out with the bones sort of mapped out as you want them, you save this out as a Photoshop file template, and then go import that into CrazyTalk Animator 3, and we'll go over and look at how that's done now. So to get your character template into CrazyTalk Animator 3, you just need to select one of the dummy characters that come with CrazyTalk Animator 3, and I'm using the dummy horse character, which for G3 quadrupeds. You can see there that's basically a template. It's got one image in it, and it's just an outline of a horse. and from there you go into the character composer. Because I have CrazyTalk Pipeline Edition and I've made up my Photoshop template, all I need to do is click on the Import Photoshop Assets and go into my project, select my template and go Open, and do Full Actor. And any second you'll see that's my entire character imported with all the bones already positioned how they should be. And zoom in on this just so you can get a better look. And you'll see if you look at the layer manager, it's got talking head, but there's no actual graphics for talking head. But there is a graphic for the head layer, which is if you're using the full bones and stuff in the way I have here without having a talking head. So yeah, if you didn't want to have this face animated or anything, you could leave it like that and that would be the character. But in a minute I'm gonna just quickly show you how to change that to a morph-based head. But one problem that I did have with my character template here was this bone running down here is actually the back leg that we can't see. And if you see, if I actually preview this and move this leg around, you'll see how it distorts the front of the cow here, which is not what we want. So my solution to that, so that wouldn't happen when I apply pre-animated motion files to this, was to move this bone over in line with the other back leg, so that now when that leg moves, it's at least only affecting that part of the cow's leg there, and with any luck they're sort of moving at the same time. So if I select the other leg, it has a similar effect. So as you can see, we've got all the bones here, and if I preview the head bones, I can sort of move these particular bones. You can see there, neck stretching and all that. And if I kept it like this, I could have my ears being animated and stuff. If I kept this particular face within the thing, but what I actually did was I converted this to a morph-based head. And to do that, you just select the head layer that's got the image of the face in, and then you select the morph-based head icon and select convert to morph-based head. And by doing that, it'll replace this head with the head that I'm about to create. And you can only have one head on a character, as it's saying here, so that will completely get rid of this, which unfortunately means the ears won't be using these bones here anymore when it's animated. So we do sort of lose something a little bit by doing this, but we really want the eyes to be moving and have a fully animated face, so it's not that big an issue. Go yes to that, and this will take me through pretty much the exact same process that you go through if you're using CrazyTalk 8. So I'm not going to step you through this. If I just go line that up roughly with how my head is and go OK, you'll see that this will be converted into a morph-based head. There we go. So that's the head there, and if I preview the face, you see all my bones have been moved around from, because this head's on an angle. These are all the face bones. Do a face preview, you can see that now this head is sort of semi 3D, the nose is sticking out there. And the eyes are completely terrible because, as I said, I didn't do any real work to try and line anything up. Anyway, so that's sort of setting up your character. I'll load in the actual project and we'll just have a quick look at how this is set up. The background we've just pretty much imported in by using the Create Media button. You just click on that, select that you're making a prop, and that'll take you out to wherever you can find whatever props that you need, and they'll bring that back into the stage where you can resize them and whatever that you need to do. We'll look at this in 3D view so you can see the sort of multi-plane camera aspect at work here. So this is how I've got it set up. The cow is fairly close to the camera. I've got my field a little further back and my sky a little further back from that. So you can see it's quite the distance there. And the reason you do this is to get that sort of parallax effect that you can see happening there when I'm turning this. Well, obviously we don't want it that extreme in the final animation, but this is looking that extreme just because of the 3D sort of view that we're in. So that's how the whole file is set up. These things, if you select them, you can move them backwards and forwards. If you want to. We'll get out of that view. So from there it was just a case of doing the animation. And you can see the whole movement of the cow. See how the legs are moving there, or the top of the legs. And all of that animation of the body was just done using predefined motions, including the tail. This one here on the body is just, I believe it's using a horse walk, because there is actually no animation specifically for cows, it's mainly horses. And then from here on to the end, the body and tail is just a horse standing idle. So it's just got a little bit of movement just to sort of show that it's alive and the body isn't completely frozen. And then the face animation is just, obviously I loaded in my vocal track first to get the lip syncing. And I've got the vocal track separate from the music so that the music wouldn't interfere with the lip syncing. So if we quickly look in the timeline and have a look at the face and go for the voice clip. You can see here there's no sound at all as far as the music. This is all voice up here. I think I can turn the music off with that. And then it will, "If you'll be my bodyguard." I can be your long-lost pal. So that's how the voice is working. And what we do is show project. You can see on the music track. There it is, that's the music track there. The music track doesn't actually show a waveform, but it's there. And you can adjust the volume of your music track. In the animation menu, it's got sound modifier. And you can select background music, and you'll see I've got it at 50% here. You can also have two sound effects tracks, but I didn't put any sound effects in it. But they're the same. If you've got them, you can adjust the volume on them. So I did the voice track and let it automatically lip sync, and the rest of the face animation, things like the eyes blinking and the head sort of looking from side to side, that was done with the face puppeting tools. So if I just zoom in on here and select my character and do face puppet, this one, and I think I used the comic face, which was that one, and I just did the general one. But if you see, you can actually select what muscles and things you want to have move around over here and whether you want head movement. So if I preview that, see I can move the head round, make the eyes blink, do really sort of extreme movements. See the eyes are following the cursor around, and if I press record, all of those movements that I just did would be getting recorded into the timeline, into the facial clip timeline. Make the timeline a little bigger. So all of those puppet movements get recorded in here, and you'll see there's virtually a keyframe for every single frame of the animation. These little pauses are probably areas where I didn't move the mouse at all. But otherwise, everything is being keyframed. Anyway, that's how the face was animated. And the last thing you'll notice in here, that my head gets bigger and smaller occasionally, which I was trying to do because that was when I had just the face puppeting, the head stayed the same size all the time no matter where it was positioned. But as you know, cows have relatively long necks, so if it leaned forward, then technically the head should get bigger because it's coming closer to you. So that was the next thing that I wanted to deal with, and if it sort of leaned back, the head should get smaller. So if we play through, you can see here the head's getting bigger there, it's going back smaller, and getting bigger when it leans forward. Face motion, you can use the transform function here. See, I can select the head. This thing here, adjusting that, affects the motion file for the body, so the 2D motion file, and when you adjust it, it puts keyframes in the transform area here. So that's for the motion button. So you see, if I get somewhere here, so you can see down here, no keyframe there. If I make the head go bigger, now I've got a keyframe in here. And if I do it smaller over here, Then go over here, make it smaller there. See, now my head goes in and out. So that was the last thing I did to get head motions in there. Then of course the only other thing to show you that you can't do in CrazyTalk or CrazyTalk 8 is camera movements. So we'll get out of that and just go into the camera, and you'll see if I go to the start of the animation, I've got a keyframe right at the beginning on the camera track and a keyframe over here, which just pans the camera across very, very slowly as the cow is walking in. So if I go to the actual camera's view, this is what the camera sees, and this is what gets recorded into my MP4 file. If you watch closely, you see the camera is panning across. The parallax effect is happening on the sky and the land and the cow. Very really slowly, you see how the camera is very slowly moving as the cow walks across into the shot. And the camera stops moving there and the cow keeps walking. Which is, camera movements is not something that you can do in CrazyTalk 8 either. So there you go, that's my animation breakdown for how I made or animated my cow's tail artwork in CrazyTalk Animator 3. I hope you got something out of this and got sort of a general sense of how to do this kind of animation yourself in CrazyTalk Animator 3, and I hope you enjoyed sort of seeing this comparison of what CrazyTalk Animator 3 can do in comparison to CrazyTalk 8 by doing the same sort of animation of the same artwork. So I thought maybe I would just finish up this animation with a sort of side-by-side comparison, and I'll play the sound for this particular animation on the right hand side. So here we go again, CrazyTalk 8 version, CrazyTalk Animator 3 version. Turn the sound on for that one. If you'll be my bodyguard, I can be your long lost pal. I can call you Betty, and Betty, when you call me, you can call me Al. A man walks down the street, he says, why am I short of attention? Got a short little span of attention, worry my nights are so long. Where's my wife and family? What if I die here? Who'll be my role model now that my role model is gone? Gone. He's ducked back down the alley with a roller-poly little bat-faced girl. All along, there were incidents and accidents. There were hints and allegations. If you'll be my bodyguard, I can be your long-lost pal. I can call you Betty, and Betty, when you call me, you can call me Al. Call me Al. So if you want to give this a try and you don't have CrazyTalk Animator 3, you can actually download a free trial version from Reallusion's website, and if you want to give it a try and sort of follow along exactly with this project that you saw here, I do have all the graphics available in my animation and video store. The link will be in the description below. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a like, leave a comment, ask questions, let me know what you'd like to see in a future video perhaps. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button and share the video if you know someone who you think would get some benefit from it. And I'll leave it there. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye for now.